I'm talking about incineration and cremation. We're a local business. We're based in Burntwood, so 20-25 minutes away from here, and we actually manufacture something. So you hear all this negativity about Britain, and this is really for you to look at waste differently. Instead of actually just throwing your waste in a bin, we all have a duty of care to actually understand what's happening to this waste. Is it being recycled? Is products to actually package our materials, for example? So similar to Graham, where he's protecting species, we're protecting biosecurity and making sure that we're putting food onto people's plates. So we started off in '82, really working with British farmers. So where Graham touched about badgers. Badgers is a massive problem when it came into foot and mouth. Does everyone remember foot and mouth in the UK? So millions of animals were killed, millions, and the British government at the time, the only way that they could manage this waste was and kill all the badgers to stop the spread of TB. So it's really looking at protecting farmers, and if they do have fallen stock, instead of having vermin coming to get into their waste, they can manage the waste that's on site and limit the amount of impact of people coming onto their site that may have been to numerous sites and potentially spreading disease. So we're exporting champions as well. So we export to 150 countries around the world, which I think, again, as an SME, that's a great thing to shout about. If you even look at Jaguar Land Rover, the amount of countries is like 82. So to get to 150 countries, I think that's a great achievement. But the reality is, waste in this country is a problem, but the waste all around the world is so much bigger. Just driving here from Burntwood, I don't know how many of you, it shows how sad I am when you're looking at waste, but you look at the amount of waste, even looking out the window, you can see across the road and the bins are overflowing. You can go through skips and everything's thrown into the skip, and it makes you just think, what's actually happening to that waste? And in Europe, we're actually pretty good. So there's 750 million people in Europe, and we look at only 24% of our waste actually goes to landfill. If you put that back to Africa, for example, you're looking at 1.4 billion, and you're looking at 221 million tonnes in Europe goes to landfill. In Africa, bigger population, only 125 million tonnes. So what happens to the rest of that waste? So this is only the recorded stuff. So you typically find it ends up in oceans, and it's really sad when you start looking at the waste in more detail. So yeah, 150 countries around the world. You can imagine that makes it very difficult for us to go and service, maintain these equipment. And definitely when we looked at COVID, we couldn't jump on planes all the time. So we had to invest a lot on training people in country on how to service and how to maintain our piece of equipment. So the key thing for us is making something that's robust, reliable and efficient. We don't want them to have something and then you have it for a year, you're having to buy it again. So typically our machines will last for about 20-25 years. So they're built like tanks. Yes, it is burning the waste, but it's reducing it down to 3% ash. Making sure that we're supporting communities. So as I've just said, we don't produce the large waste to energy. So the ones that you see in Wolverhampton, that isn't us. We specialise mainly on hazardous waste. But if you're looking at supporting communities in remote locations, what do they do with this waste? What is the options? We're an island here. We have landfill. They're near enough all at capacity. So we can all, we talked about Japanese knotweed there, that it gets wrapped up and then buried, but we're just burying the problem. We're not solving the problem, we're burying the problem. So it's really trying to educate people and then working with communities to actually realise what is their waste, how it should be treated, and stop potential spread of disease. So we've got two parts of the business, Addfield Environmental, and you'll see the four topics mainly there. So farmers, agricultural, we do a lot with aid agencies, so whether it's USAID, UNICEF, UNOPS, a lot with aid agencies. General waste, that can be anything, so where we've talked about horticulture there, it can be precious metals, it can be all a diverse array of waste streams. And pet cremation, sorry all the pet lovers, I'm a pet lover as well, but this is one of the things that you have to do at the end, and making sure that you're doing it in the right way, that it's not just being left at a veterinary practice and it's being stored with lots of other pets. It's actually realising it's a service that's being offered into the UK and Europe now, and it's really a growing market. And then we have our Addfield project. So We understand there's not a one-shoe-fits-all approach, so it's making sure that we have a concept to completion, really understanding the client. When you actually put it as, what does that mean as fuel usage? And we all jump in a car. I don't know how many people have got an electric car here, or everyone's got a diesel car, but just putting it as numbers of like going around the world 158 times, that's how much fuel that we're saving during that lifetime. When you put into numbers like that, you realise actually incineration isn't as bad as what you tend to think of. I'm going to go back a step regarding the landfill. So the landfill, obviously we're burying the problem, but we're generating a lot of methane gases there, which is obviously greenhouse gases, which isn't good for the environment. So we need to understand that this waste is a fuel. So I don't know how many people know in the room what happens to the waste. So your options are landfill, energy from waste, composting or recycling. Sadly, not all waste can be recycled. So if you look at POPs waste, for example, it's a type of waste that can't be broken down organically. So it will go to landfill, it will stay there forever, and it will get into the soil and the leachate, and it will cause a problem for the next generation. So looking at this waste and seeing it's a fuel, let's harness that energy, let's use that energy, let's do what the rest of Europe are doing and make sure that it's them powering our hospitals, powering our local communities. So when we talk about incineration, people think you're going to have harmful gases and it's going to kill the next generation, it's all cancerous. And don't get me wrong, is it 100% perfect? No, but the evolution of waste to energy is growing vastly every single day with carbon capture, making sure that we have the right filtration systems, that you're taking 90–80% of the harmful gases out of the gas stream, and making sure that then you're not using fossil fuel to burn a boiler, which is then giving heat into the hospitals, harness that energy and redirect it. You're going to see, I've just touched about foot and mouth there, but even the fact of, not so much this year, but it was last Christmas. I don't know how many people found it more difficult to get turkeys at Christmas or eggs at Christmas. So avian flu is a real big problem at the moment. We can't stop the birds flying. They're going to fly. We're not going to be able to stop it. So it's actually looking at it and saying, if it does transfer, and it's already started to happen into Mexico and the US, transferred from animals to humans, is that the next thing that we need to worry about when we're looking at COVID or Ebola? It's really recognising and saying we need to do something about it, and what are our governments going to do to ensure that we are protected. So we're doing a lot of work with governments, like we're doing a £6 million contract for the US government where they're having mobile machines. So if avian flu hits that site, instead of them sending a chemical company that's using all our taxpayers' money to spend £2 million to get rid of this waste stream, and they can't reuse those chemicals, our mobile machines typically cost $250,000 and they can use it then for the next 20 years. If you look at that as taxpayers' money, I'd rather have something that's sustainable and lasts longer than just sending a chemical company. But again, everyone hopes for the best but doesn't always plan for the worst, so it's always trying to get people to think like that. Don't just think it's going to be okay. Make sure you've got a contingency plan in place. You can see obviously the farm to fork, so we've talked about that. We really want to ensure what's happened. We've seen the Ukraine war and it's like the corn, and you're seeing, if you go to the supermarkets and you're seeing the olive oil, the prices starting to rocket up. We need to just make sure that we're protecting our agricultural market here in the UK. Again, it's just making alternatives. So again, you'll see some older technology where, again, it's still an incinerator, but it's bad technology. It's very old. So making people aware of saying, again, one shoe doesn't fit all approach. So this type of system at the bottom isn't something that you'll tend to find in the UK or Europe, and that system will be about £100,000. Based on legislation in the UK and Europe, the same type of system would be like £3 million. That's the difference as emissions control that we've got in the UK and Europe. Sadly, in developing countries, they've got nothing. But we can't just put our head in the sand and say, well, we've got nothing, let's just carry on burning it, because we've all got a commitment as a carbon footprint reduction. So putting these systems in place really reduces their impact. Is everyone local? I feel like I should have asked that. Do you know Wolverhampton Hospital, New Cross? So New Cross has our incinerators there. So the clinical waste, again, I'm going to talk about taxpayers because we all hate paying more tax. So as a taxpayer, we typically pay about, well, the NHS pays £1,000 per tonne to take your clinical waste away to treat at another site. £1,000 per tonne. This waste stream is mainly plastics, but it can't be recycled. So you look at the energy value of that, it's like fuel. So now we're burning the same waste for £42 per tonne. And that waste then is being, they've turned off their fossil fuel burners, going into the boiler, and it's heating the hospital. So that's an example of like reducing the impact for taxpayers, taking back some control of their own waste instead of just sending it to another place, and then actually harnessing the energy to heat the hospital. But that's happening on our doorstep and we probably don't know about it. And some of the with waste, you look at when they all talk about the recession coming and how it's going to impact your business. Waste is everywhere. So, good example, we work with even the oil and gas sector. So again, if you think of them drilling the land and for mining, they're using so many lubricants and they're putting so much carbon back onto the land. Something has to happen to that. They've got a duty of care to make sure that they're not, just putting a problem there for the next generation, but also the amount of waste that's generated from medical facilities or even just general waste. So having mobile containerised systems makes it a must for a lot of these oil and gas sites and mining facilities. This was a recent one, the bottom corner. So in Panama, the amount of cocaine and cannabis that was being taken from the borders, you're looking at hundreds of millions of pounds of cocaine, and you can imagine our engineers when they were told about going to this site, I had to be very selective with which engineers were going to go and do the job. But when they were there, everything's weighed inside the machine, everything's burned. Again, cocaine is like 26 megajoules of energy per kilogram. You're looking at diesels up to 48. It's like fuel, so it goes off completely. But it's making sure it's taking that crime money off the streets and getting rid of it. I think that's the key thing, and you start to realise the impact that we're having on local communities. I think the big one, I don't know how many people, I went on a cruise this year, very lucky, I know. So if you've been on a cruise, you can imagine the amount of waste that's being generated, but the one thing that was evident was the amount of waste that you started seeing in the ocean that was just dumped over, and it's just sad to think how much waste is being put in there, whether it's nets or plastics. And when you look at the South Pacific, all this waste is being dumped into it, and it's just, that's the next generation, and making sure that we're protecting the sea life there. So this is one that we did for Ascension Islands. Again, similar thing, they had a landfill. They would either just open pit burning, or they would divert the waste, which was costing them a lot more money, government's money again, taxpayers' money. So they've got an incinerator that's managing all of their waste on site. So it isn't just the hospitals, it's not just the aid agencies, it is remote locations as well. I'm sure we all seen the Hollywood fires, didn't we? It's like, and the catastrophe there, and where it's what we're seeing that's happening in Palestine at the moment. You're seeing all these refugee camps. You can imagine how much waste is being generated there as well. So again, a bit of an introduction of saying this is what we do. We don't just do one shoe fits all. There'll be a machine specific for that issue. So again, if there's hurricanes or natural disasters, we've got mobile machines that will help with that clear up process. We have camp incinerators, again, if there is refugee camps. But the good thing is, you close the container off, it gets redeployed to a new site. So that's one thing of making sure that it can be reused. It's not a throwaway item. This is the bit more of the sales pitch now. So obviously we are an award-winning business, we are local. I think the one thing I just wanted to get from today was for everyone to just go away and think, what do you do with your waste? Have you got the right segregation in your business for cardboard, plastics? Do you know what actually happens once it goes to the companies looking after it? How much of it is recycled? Just start asking them type of questions, because we can't all expect the next person to do something better. We all have a contribution to make the world better for the next generation. So just looking at your waste differently, and yeah, hopefully I've gave you something to think about and realise that incineration isn't just a dirty word. It is a solution where landfill, I feel, isn't. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Right.
Does your equipment sort of get affected by the Environmental Protection Act and Integrated Pollution Control? Do you need a licence?
So what the equipment doesn't. You'll find that site does. So we have to adhere to the regulations and legislation, but it's a site that then gets permitted. So we have to give them continuous emission monitoring for every one of the sites. So you'll find it's really sophisticated now. So it's always measuring emitted gases. So if you find that, say, heavy metals is going up in pollutants, you'll find the sorbent injection will increase. So it's being very reactive of understanding what's going in the gas stream and what come out. But this is where I was saying the one shoe doesn't fit all approach. If we was ignorant and saying, right, all waste burns, and not actually look at the composition and actually realise what's going in it, that's when we design regarding retention time, cold spots, whether it needs to be a rotating chamber, which is like a big washing machine really, where you're rotating it, or it could be a stepped half where you're trying to gasify the waste first, then you incinerate it. So yeah, it's understanding what the legal requirements is for the customer and the country, but then for us to design the solution based on what they need to hit. Thanks.
Do you do small options for all these projects that are like larger things? We have a lot of skips for wood waste. We pay for somebody to take it away. We know where it goes, it gets recycled, but I'm just wondering whether there's an option for on-site for us to use it.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we always look to recycle as much as we want. I know we're saying about incineration, so if there is recycling available, we'd say go down the recycling route. If there isn't that option, you're looking at it that you want to harness the energy and actually redirect that heat back to the factory, 100%. There's so many laser companies, for example, that will have large pallets that they're using. They'll do the same thing, they'll incinerate the waste. So it's really, I'm probably not doing a salesman approach here, but I'm very much, I want people to recycle, but recycling isn't like achievable for everyone. So if it's the fact you're going to look at it as energy from waste side, 100%, I think that's something we can definitely do. If it was a remote location, again, I'd say, yeah, that's something we could look at. But where the gentleman was saying regarding Japanese knotweed, incinerate it, yeah, it's a lot of excavation of digging it up, but don't bury it, don't hope that the person's wrapped it good enough and put it in the ground, just burn it. He talks about wild boar, African swine fever, I don't know if people know about that. There's millions of pigs 50% of the pigs population in Asia was killed in 2021 because of African swine fever, with wild boar just contaminating stock, and it's just crazy numbers. But when you start to realise our prices are going up for food, you start realising why.
If you're recovering energy from the incineration, are we looking at electricity being produced, or are we just mastering the heat that's produced by the fire?
Yeah, definitely. So it's all of the above. So you can either look at generating just hot water, so for your welfare facilities, and turn off one of your combined heat and power boilers. It could be that you're generating steam, so it'll then go into RRC system and goes into a steam expander and make you self-sufficient, that you can run your whole site. So there's different options. Some people will even just want to redirect the heat and use it to heat up their factory. So yeah, all of the options are available.
First question. How do you dispose of waste from incinerator waste?
What do we do with the ash afterwards? Great question.
And what's contamination?
Yeah, so obviously it'll burn all combustible materials, so you'll have certain things like metals. Again, we want that recycled, so if it's taken up to a certain temperature where it's getting rid of all disease and it's getting rid of all the stuff that can't be recycled, then you use that metal, you send it back to precious metal recycling companies, they'll melt it back down and it will be reused. Same with glass, it's the same principle. It's just a fact of all combustible materials will go, and it'll go to 3% ash. You can use that ash then into roads, tarmac, building blocks, so there is a reuse for it.
I was thinking of your scenario with Portland Mouse, where a lot of cows were there's obviously certain waste.
Yeah. You're right. So in the UK, it comes under as SRM, specific risk material. So it's crazy really, because you look at it, all the prions have gone out of the ash, so there's nothing left there. It could just go the same as every other type of waste stream, but it goes to landfill. This is where legislation, definitely in the UK, it's really frustrating. Too many people want to say no than there is people to say yes. And if it was the fact that we was more forward thinking of actually saying, actually let's test this ash, is there an issue with it? And if there was a risk in a certain area, take it to a higher temperature, have more testing at the end of it, and make sure that you can do something with that byproduct. So it is frustrating, sadly it still goes to landfill, but it's 3% of the original volume.
Is there any contamination remaining on it?
No, there's nothing. That's the frustrating part, that you could just reuse it then, but the government, instead of, it's easier for them to just say no than it is to actually say, what can we do with this byproduct now? They look at it as thinking, well, before they were burning tyres, which were generating all this black smoke, and then putting all the liquids back into the land. They don't want that. So if it's the fact that they're incinerating, it's only 3% ash, there's less risk.
Finally, I was going to say, don't let all the druggies know that you've drugs. Every day slipping up.
I know, it is crazy. The same job, we're doing another 3 for the same government. So some is going to the Navy and some are going to the Army. But yeah, it is one of those jobs that you look at that I don't think anyone will be that brave to go there. They're all in balaclavas, they're all with machetes and machine guns and that. I don't think our guys will be that brave, really, or stupid.
Is your ash is inert?
Yeah, it's inert.
Totally inert?
Well, it depends what you're actually burning, but if you're looking at mad cow disease, completely inert.
When mad cows done, there was a lot of sleepers on pyres when they created the funeral thing. And one of the companies that got involved in that, in supplying the sleepers and doing the work, was actually then going to be prosecuted by the Environment Agency because they were then contaminating the ground. But then, hold on, you've been told to do that by the government.
I know, it's crazy. I think it's so painful when you look at stuff like that. Obviously, the sleepers is to generate air underneath, so it's to raise it to generate air in there. But you're looking at making sure you have no cold spots. So if you're thinking that you're putting...
This is all because the sleepers were new. Ex-railway stuff, which was contaminated with tar and...
Yeah, everything. But you can't prove that everything's gone there because that's not incineration, it's open pit burning, so it's not the same. So the way that you build the incinerators, where we talked about the refractory lining, you have no cold spots. So it's making sure that you're rotating this waste to ensure that you get rid of everything. That's the key thing. If it's the sleepers and even the tyres, you found once the burning had actually gone, there was parts of like liquid and there was bodies that were still left there that it wasn't controlled. We're still doing a lot with like DEFRA and Dayara in Northern Ireland, where they used to actually take all the mad cow to.
Wolverhampton was built. There was a tyre burning plant built in Wolverhampton going back.
It failed. It was gasification, so it weren't incineration. So this, it wasn't ours though, but that was gas.
It was yours, but I just thought you knew the...
Yeah, I do. But this is the thing where it comes into, everyone looks for the next technology. Incineration, that's why we don't change the name. It's a combustion triangle, so oxygen, spark, fuel, that's all that you need. When it's getting into gasification, you're looking to remove one of those elements away, or you can go into pyrolysis. Incineration is proven, so it's making sure that we actually improve that more. Instead of actually trying to redesign the wheel again, we know it works, let's just improve it. So it's so I know of that site. We're doing a lot in the UK at the moment. So we're doing one of the largest veterinary groups in Cambridge. We'll be doing the Malvern waste to energy plant, and we'll be doing the Stoke waste to energy plant. So we'll be doing a lot more in the UK. But these are for no. This will be 2 tonne an hour. So it's not a large city incinerator. It's going to be very focused on hazardous waste, so clinical waste. I think that the sad part is when it's municipal, if it goes to landfill, you're looking at it's less than £100 per tonne. Whereas if we talk about the clinical waste, £1,000 per tonne, people see the return of investment, and that's the sad part of it. If they can see they can get a return in less than 3 years, they'll invest in it. If it's something that takes them 8-9 years, they don't. So that isn't really our focus. I feel like municipal, there is another avenue where it can be recycled, where it's hazardous waste, there isn't, and we don't want that to go to landfill. But the key thing for us, we want to make sure that taxpayers don't pay that amount that they're being charged by other companies. If they can manage it at a lower rate, the better.
Do you think you'll ever run out of fuel?
No.
You know, you're being feed of rubbish.
Yeah.
Gradually, there's that many people recycling. Is there going to be that much rubbish?
A great question, and these are all the stuff that we ask ourselves as well. But when you're looking at a recategorisation of waste, so if you look at POPs waste, it only got reclassified in 2022. So these are a lot of high energy waste. So if it can't go to landfill, you might as well send it to smaller systems. I've just said, but we don't do the large municipalities, so we're very specialised. There'll always be a need for that. Always, because the reality is, unless we start changing the way that we do things, and that's every one of us, also around this in this room, but also manufacturers, producers, we all have to do something. But we all know it's frustrating. Any of us who go into Costa or a place like that, and you have these cardboard straws, we all get annoyed of it. Or your kids have a drink and it's having the milkshake, and it's like they can't suck the milkshake back out. It's frustrating, but we have to make these types of changes to ensure that we, as manufacturers, have that problem then. But then that's where we have to look at other stuff then to actually say, how can we make it better? But waste is everywhere, as I've just said, around the world. It's a real shame, really. I don't know how many people have done much travelling with their business, but you go into certain places, like, I went to Nigeria, everywhere's on like generators, and it's like you can smell the diesel in the air. The communities, it's all in the river, the waste, and the kids are washing and playing and it's really sad to see. And you just realise that last night I sorted out my bins, put it into a bin collection, somebody takes it away, I don't worry about it then. But what really happens, that waste stream?